Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Swapping Joysticks, your home of LGBTQIA plus gaming and streaming, the number one place for it. All the others are just weak imitations. I'm your host, Biggest Bennis, and joining me as always from Eurogamer is the one, the only, Ed Nightingale.
Hi, pal.
No, don't call me pal. You've never called me. I'm going to start. If you call me pal, I'm going to call you... oh, God, what's that awful thing that they call you?
Mate.
No. What's the thing on Grindr that people say? Like to young people when it's the dad.
Oh. Son?
No. Also, not actual dad. That's weird. I don't know. The worst is when people go woof. You're like, ugh. If anyone ever says that, you are far too old to be using apps. Far too old to be using technology. Go back to books.
Wow. Says Ben.
Yes, this is not this is not necessarily the view of Ed Nightingale.
To be clear.
Exactly. How have you been? How has your week been? What have you been up to? I've had some wine.
Oh, strap in, folks.
Yeah.
Whereas I spent the evening doing some yoga.
Oh, you're working till 7 o'clock.
I was working late, yes. I feel like I've talked about this feature before, and I've built it up quite a bit. But I'm working on a feature that is hopefully going up next week.
Is it a spread? Is it a centerfold spread?
Equivalent of, but digital.
Will there be boobs?
No.
Dong?
No.
No dong?
Well, I could do, but I won't. Not mine, to be clear.
No, a different kind of slider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I've written a piece. It's about representation and character creators.
Yeah.
And that will be up next week. So I've been very busy writing and editing that.
Yeah.
So please go look forward to it, because that's been months of work.
And one thing that we said we were going to do this podcast, and well, I think we should maybe mention it now. I don't know whether we should do it at the beginning or afterwards. We didn't really talk about it. It was to say at the beginning of the podcast.
Talk about it. Plan.
We don't do planning. At the beginning of the podcast was to mention what we're going to be talking about in the podcast. So we're going to talk about Palworld. We're going to talk about Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. We're going to talk about Chants of Sennaar. And what we're going to talk about in the news?
We got some Twitch news today.
Yeah. Is that it?
Well, and then a lot of Palworld.
Okay, Palworld.
Palworld is taking over the news and the world.
That's what we're going to chat about. So yeah. But yeah, no, today was nice. I was at work. I forgot I was in work today, so I stayed up quite late. Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, I actually need to be in work today. I met a famous YouTuber, which I will be able to talk about at some point when it gets announced. But nothing to do with me. Just I met them as part of my job. It was just passing by, but it was nice. Very nice person. Also, at the end of this podcast, so I'm going to make you tune in to the end. I'm going to do the traitors and keep you watching, cliffhanger type thing. Well, it's not going to be cliffhanger because I'll tell you at the end of this podcast. We're going to talk about who is going to be a guest in two podcast time, I think.
Yes.
Wait, so is it going to be the next podcast?
Well, we are recording it. No, it will be the next one.
It will be the next one.
We are recording it this coming weekend, which means it will be up next week. So it will be the next one. I know. I don't always look directly at the camera at the people.
Do you normally talk to people just looking around? If you're bored. I thought you were going to look for the camera and then realise the camera was over here.
No, I'm just swinging back and forth in my seat.
Big
looking
fan
around.
of swinging.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to be interviewing two people on Saturday.
Yes.
And what we're going to do at the end of the podcast, we're going to...
reveal who they are.
Exactly. And we're going to ask you for questions.
Yes, the listeners, for questions, not me.
Or the viewers. Yeah, no, Ed's got some questions, but we want some really good questions, so we're going to ask everybody.
I need to write them, but yes.
You do. And there's also going to be like some games and things that we can take.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little game.
It's been a while. We're going to be doing it in the same studio that we recorded the Ben Starr podcast, so yeah, you might recognize it. We need to think of things to put behind, because Ben Starr brought all the amazing Final Fantasy guides. Would they work on this one?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff on the Kallax, so we can probably repurpose.
There are definitely two things that would be relevant for them, and maybe some others. So yeah,
I think there's lots.
Yes. Anyway, we'll talk about that. I'm going to edge you a little bit longer till you got to watch the whole podcast to or listen to the podcast to find out what it is. But yeah, so have you been up to anything other than writing your article this week?
No, just very busy. I went to choir yesterday. That was nice.
How was it?
Very good. It's just good fun. It's nice to get out of the house.
Is it a gay men's choir?
No.
Oh.
It is gay friendly.
Good. But it's pretty shit if it's like it's really homophobic choir of all the things.
It's a nice mix of lots of people. Yeah. And we were singing a bit of Natasha Bedingfield, a classic.
See, you were doing it last night. You gave me a little rendition when you got home. I'm not a big fan of your rendition. No, I'm not a big fan of the song. I'm joking. It's the song in general. Your rendition was lovely, but I just don't really like her voice.
Well, you don't have to listen to her voice. You can listen to a choir singing it instead.
That I'd prefer.
There you go.
Her voice is not as annoying as her brother's, though.
I want to know if you're busy. I want to know if you're doing anything tonight.
Okay, your voice is really annoying as well. What's the other one? What's the other one that he does? I
gotta get through that.
Yeah.
I gotta get through that.
Oh, no, it's the slow one. If you're not me.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, that's one I was imagining him singing. He also had a few songs. I thought it was a one-hit wonder, but...
No, he's had a few.
3.
He's had 3. 3
is a few. 3 does count as a few. We'll count that as 3.
I like a bit of Daniel Bedingfield.
Bedingfield. Who's calling that? I think it was Avid Merriam.
The Bedingfield.
Bedingfield. No, yeah. Although I do quite like her on TikTok. Do you see her when she's in the taxi and her song comes on? And she tells the taxi driver that that's her, and the taxi driver has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. Some drunk woman in the back. Yeah. So I do like her on there. And I'm sure she's a lovely person. I just find her voice annoying.
Wow.
Speaking of annoying voices, Ed, I don't know what's happened. It's wine.
How dare. Honestly, you and wine, you should not drink.
Maybe it makes it a bit more punchy, a bit more fruity, the podcast.
I think we're fruity enough. Well, we don't need you being punchy.
I mean, if we've got you singing Natasha Bedingfield and David Daniel Bedingfield, then I think it's fruity enough.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, the Oscars stuff came out. Speaking of things that we know nothing about, films. Films came out.
A good change of topic.
What is our thing? What is our goal going to be? Which is going to be interesting to anybody that knows us, because they know that I have about as much interest and knowledge of films.
Well, I have done this in previous years.
Okay.
So I am very up for the challenge. It's not really a challenge, really. It's just you have decided that you want to watch all of the Oscar nominees.
So do I admit to something illegal? As a kid, it's not like murder.
That's fine.
Yeah. So in my late teens, early 20s, I used to watch like some of the Oscar-nominated films, and my favorite thing was the Oscar-nominated films, the ones that for the Best Picture, they get obviously sent out to loads of people, like all the judges. So those go pretty much, they're available on torrent sites,
of course,
immediately. Whereas the other ones in cinemas, like it's usually a crap camera recording of them.
Yeah.
So I used to always quite enjoy what films were going to be, who are Oscar nominated, because literally within hours of them being announced or being sent out, they were just all available on BearShare and Kazaa. So that's how I used to.
BearShare?
Remember BearShare?
No, but that sounds like
it's not that kind
something
of thing.
Else.
No, I mean there were things I downloaded from there that.
I bet.
Yeah. Oh God, no. It used to take like 10 minutes for a song to download.
Oh, dial-up internet.
You're not getting any videos on there. Is that Natasha Bedingfield?
No, that was a dial-up modem.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that's what I used to listen to, or I used to watch quite a few Oscar-nominated films because I could just download them and I didn't have to go to the cinema, which is a win-win situation.
And then you were basically watching that while you were waiting for your porn to download as well.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That was a little bit. That was when the internet, you could download a film. Although some of those films you download and then like a day later. Have you ever like waited over a day for a film to download?
Oh yes.
I'd be like, oh my God, it's over a gigabyte. What the hell?
Over like 2 meg was a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I remember trying to download. I remember all morning I was downloading Tubular Bells, just the part
album?
1. Yeah.
Great album.
Yeah, because I'd watched The Exorcist and was like, oh, I really like that song. And then I'm like, I downloaded it and I was like, this is a really long song. And then after the bit that I recognized, I was like, oh, this is going places. Quite enjoyed it.
So you've actually already watched 2 of the Oscar-nominated films.
I know.
Barbie and Oppenheimer.
So I'm hoping there's some good films.
Sure.
I know Barbie and Oppenheimer, as Miri Margley said, they are films that are popular with people.
Yes. They are films that exist.
They're films that people like. And I'm not going to... I'm not a
and
type...
you're not people.
I'm not a person who... I'm not a normal person. I'm not
that is very
somebody that shits on something because other people like it. I wouldn't want to do that. Just because something's popular, I will allow people to enjoy that.
No more wine for you.
Why? Am I being spicy?
A little.
Okay. Well, speaking of spicy, should we go into what games we've been playing?
Well, do you want to start? Because you have been playing the game of the moment.
Chants of Sennaar?
No.
Oh. Palworld.
Palworld.
And it's not about dogs.
Or Pokemon.
No. No. I played the European version, Palworld, as opposed to the American version, NTSC World. I made that joke before anybody else did.
But everybody is telling that joke, and you've used it multiple times.
But I think
it's time to stop that.
I used that joke first. That was on my stream title. People came in and been like, they wanted to comment on how good the stream title was. It was literally on the launch day, like launch a few hours after it had launched. I went live with that. And I'm sure, yes, there
and it's a week later and you're still using the same joke.
Because I didn't tweet about it,
you're
so therefore not enough people.
A dead pal.
Well, you can kick the ragdoll physicked dead pals around the island. Anyway, yeah, so if anybody hasn't, if you've
been living under a rock,
then yeah, you don't know anything about this. But Palworld has come out in early access, which is a survival game, crafting survival game, very similar to Ark, but with lots of other different mechanics. It's pretty much, it's like a survival game, but you can have these companions alongside you and they do fighting for you, but also they can do things in your base, such as mining rocks and various other kind of laborious tasks.
Building and cooking?
They can do building and cooking, yeah. So you start off, you come out of a open area, and then all of a sudden you see the place in front of you, very kind of Breath of the Wild-esque. Not as much as Craftopia, which is their previous game that is almost like identical. And then, you go and find a place that you put your base, and then your base, you can, eventually you level it up, and it unlocks various things. So instead of having to chop down trees, go find them and chop down trees to get wood, you can have a tree plantation type thing that has a permanent, for some reason, somehow, I don't know how it works, but like 3 trees that are just constantly producing wood. But you need one of your pals that has the logging skill to do that. So you make everything kind of automated rather than going and doing it yourself. So they're pretty much your slaves. They're like your servants.
Your pals are your slaves.
You force them. Well, they do take breaks.
Oh, that's nice.
I love that somebody asked, like, will there be a mod where we can kind of assign their working hours and their sleeping hours? Because I want to be ethical. I was like, well,
I don't think that's what the game's about.
No, I mean, in many ways. So and like everybody else, I've been addicted to this. And there is obviously the big elephant in the room is like, oh, is it copying Pokemon?
Well, so this is the thing. People, when the game was first announced, people said, this is Pokemon with guns.
Yeah.
And that has been the sort of through line. Now you've played it. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
No, the gameplay isn't Pokemon. The gameplay is Ark or Minecraft, kind of. Like Minecraft, you have... you have mining and so far there isn't any mining in this, but it's kind of a crafting game. So similar to Ark, which I haven't played, but I've watched people play it. You settle your base and then you're just kind of upgrading your base. But the only thing where there are similarities with Pokemon, I mean, there are similarities with so many other games. I don't know why everyone's I know why everyone's latched onto the Pokemon comparison, because it looks, and that's one of the visual things, and like what people have been promoting, so they know it's Pokemon with guns. But there are loads of other, like there's the Everjail from Elden Ring. So the Everjail, if you don't know, they're the round stone kind of arenas, and inside you get teleported to an arena inside, an enclosed arena, and you have a boss fight, and usually it's something decent. But these are like side bosses, and they literally have that in the game. Like it's a circular area, like a circular stone area with the little circular like button or whatever it is right in the middle of it. It's almost identical. I saw that, I just laughed, and like, oh yeah, this is identical. So there are bits that they've been heavily influenced from other games, and yeah, that's like, that is it. But like the Pokemon comparisons is because the characters look just like them, and you use these orbs similar to Pokeballs,
and they're called Palspheres.
Yeah, Palspheres, but you can also get like a Super Palsphere, so you can get a better one that's got a better.
Is there a Master
chance.
Palsphere?
I don't think they've. I feel like maybe they do call it a Master something. I don't know. They've got names. They're very similar. You craft them yourself, so it's not like you buy them from a Pokeball. I don't think you can craft them in Pokemon, can you?
That's a good question. I don't think you do.
Pokemon's not a crafting game, so I doubt it.
No, I don't think you do. I think you can customize them in certain games, but yeah, I don't think you don't craft them. You just buy them.
So yeah, you can craft them, and then you don't craft them until a bit further in, but which I've done now. And yeah, you can capture Pokemon with that. So, Palamon. So you use your current Pokemon. You use
my God, Ben!
You use your current pals. Sorry, Nintendo. You use your pals or yourself. You can literally punch a sheep to death in this game.
Lovely.
Which I've done a few times. And yeah, you get a baseball bat as well. You can whack them with a baseball bat. But you can also use your pals and send them after them, especially if it's like a fire Palmon that you've got that you can send after a ice one, like a penguin, which I did. Yeah, so they go and they can fight on your behalf. As far as I'm aware, you can only like send out one at a time, a bit like a certain Nintendo game.
Okay.
And then they get downed and another one comes back.
And so you can use them as weapons as well, right?
Yeah, so if each of them has a special like attachment or something that you can. So for example, the fire breathing fox type thing that has a harness, and if you get the harness, not that kind of harness, if you get the harness for it, you can then hold it and use it as the flamethrower. It does a lot of damage.
Nice.
And it's pretty awesome. I've
seen a lot of people firing penguins and bazookas.
Oh, I've got a penguin, but I haven't unlocked its secret thing yet.
Okay.
But there are things like, oh my God, is it a wolf? I don't know if it was a wolf or a cow or something like that, but I got is it a bull? I don't know. But I got its special thing, which is a saddle, and now I can ride it. But you can also like charge and like, I think I've given it a poison thing, so now it can shoot poison at people. So like there's a lot of creativity in that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they're very much kind of influenced from others, but they've also added some extra. They've made it creative in certain ways, like that I really enjoy. And the fact that when you build this special item for each of them, it has a completely different thing depending on which one. Everyone's got like this unique ability, whether it turns itself into a flamethrower, or you can ride it, or a penguin bazooka, or you give them, the monkey has an assault rifle.
Of course it does. Of course the monkey has an assault rifle.
So like they're all individual so far. I mean, maybe later. I think a couple of them I've seen have got like saddles that you can ride them. But as far as I can see, the ones I've unlocked, which are not that many, they all seem pretty different. And that is quite creative, and it's just really good fun. It plays really well. I think that's one of the reasons why it's doing so well. There's not actually that much jank. I think the online servers work like playing with friends, and that has caused some issues.
Yeah.
But I've just played it solo, and yeah, I had a really good time. It's a really solid 60 FPS, maybe even more. I'm not sure. I didn't have the counter on there, but it was incredibly smooth. It ran really well. It's like, it doesn't have a unique art style. It's not like Breath of the Wild with their palettes and stuff like that. So it's weird that you've got these kind of cartoony Pokemon-looking pals, and then maybe the grass is slightly realistic. So like there's different art styles going on. So it's not going to win any awards in like visual effects or whatever, but it's just a really fun game. And there's that nice steady feeling of progression, and there's some goofy moments. My favorite moment was, so near, you've got the kind of like just the generic enemies around you. They're like level 1, level 2. You level up quite slowly. I'm like at 11 or 12 after about 7 or 8 hours. And there are every now and again, they're like around there are dotted some big enemies. One of them is this mammoth that's completely kind of chilled. It's level 30, docile. Very docile. It's level 36. It sometimes wanders through my camp.
And what level are you?
I think I was about 9 when a certain thing happened.
So it's beyond your skill.
Well beyond my skill. But it was like, yeah, level 36. But it's been like wandering through camp sometimes. It just walks there. It slept in the corner of my camp at one point. And it's giant. It's massive mammoth. And so there was I think it was the cat one, or it was, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what. I think it was the cat one was nearby. And I was like, okay, I need to, at one point, so to level up your Palmon, to make them like super strong,
you need to stop saying Palmon.
Yeah. Your
just
pals.
Call them pals.
Fine.
You're gonna rile up the Pokemon fans. You don't want to do that.
I mean, people playing the game are calling them Pokemon. I was calling it on stream. I was like, Where's my Pokemon? Everybody calls them Pokemon. Nobody calls them pals.
Listen, someone made a Pokemon mod for this game, and it's already been taken down thanks to Nintendo.
Because they're idiots, and they put it behind their Patreon, so it was paid. Of course they're going to go. But anyway, yeah, so I've unlocked a thing that fuses them. So you can get 4 of them and then fuse them into one to make that one stat slightly better without leveling up. So leveling up, obviously, their stats will get better, but you can get these ones to be even stronger by fusing them. And I think the first fuse costs 4 of the same type.
Right.
And then it's like 8, 16, and 32. So it encourages you to catch loads, but you're not going to have a box full of like thousands at the end of it because you just use them to fuse together and get stronger.
Is that the equivalent of evolution then? Like, do they evolve in the way that Pokemon do?
No.
Okay.
As far as I was aware, not. And I don't know, like I've unlocked that. I don't think you can fuse. I might be wrong. And if I am, I am. But I don't know. You can't fuse 2 different ones to kind of get a different hybrid type thing. And they don't become like a. I think this is like the equivalent of it, but it's obviously not really an evolution because it's just making a stronger version of it. Which maybe it is. It just there's no visual changes as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But anyway,
I will say, like with Pokemon, that's one of my biggest annoyances is when you catch a really cute one and then it evolves into something really ugly, and you're like, no, I just wanted to keep with the cute one, but I wanted it to be more powerful.
It's like I've got the sheep, and I'm like, the sheep's kind of like the. I mean, it's like the sheep in Pokemon, the one that's crap. What's
Wooloo?
Wooloo. It's a bit like that. It looks quite similar as well. And yeah, I just had an abundance of them because they're just everywhere, especially and they're very low level, and I've just been charging around, knocking them out, and you get like meat from them and stuff. So to go cooking, but like that sheep I had a bunch of, but like there's always been one either in my camp or in my party because you've got 3 areas where they can be. They can just be in the box, like in Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
They can be at your camp, which every time you level up your camp so far, every time I've leveled up, they've added a new spot for a pal in that camp. And in fact, the last time I upgraded, I unlocked the ability to have a second camp. So yeah, you can go then find another place for them.
Nice.
But then, and the other place is in your party, which I think is 5. So which in Pokemon is 6. You right there?
Sorry, I'm shuffling in my seat.
Oh. So yeah, anyway, I'll get to the end of the story. So I was punching a cat.
As you do.
But I think he started running away. So I just threw my monkey at it. And I was like, oh, I haven't tried the...
Not a euphemism.
No, spanking that monkey. And so I threw the monkey at it, and I was like, oh, I haven't used the gun move on it, like the gun, because it's like you send them out and they do their attacks and stuff, but then you can use the special move, which is either that you ride it or that you can hold it for a flamethrower, and it's on a cooldown and it doesn't last forever. So I was like, oh, the monkey's got it. So I used that, and the monkey like killed it in 2 hits with the gun, and then turned around, saw the mammoth, level 36 mammoth. This is the level 9 monkey, can't remember the name of it. Just turned around to the woolly mammoth and started shooting at it. I was like, Jesus, what are you doing? So, and this was right next to my camp. So then the monkey ran back to the camp, and then the mammoth is coming at them because obviously it's been shot at. It's been aggroed. And then my entire camp is obviously like fighting it. And there's like 7 of my Pokemon pals in the camp, like attacking it. I'm there trying to attack as well because obviously it's there. We're doing absolutely no damage to it, and the camp just gets entirely wiped out. Every single thing was fighting it. Every single thing. When I came back to the camp, because when you're in camp, it shows up all the camp pals and like their statuses, and it's like knocked out, knocked out, knocked out, knocked out, and then the penguin feeling hungry. Like, great.
Penguin's a mood.
Penguin's just like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but I'm hungry.
So was that a game over?
It was not a game over because then obviously the aggro had gone and it disappeared. I've died a few times and you just come back. It's a bit like a battle royale game. It's weird, like because you drop all of your items and everything, and then you can choose a place to respawn. But it's weird because you can't respawn near where you died, but you can fast travel to it. So it's a bit of a weird thing.
Weird.
It's fine. I mean, just you then go to another place and then I don't know if it's something to do with like you don't want to be in a permanent. It's probably like a way to avoid a glitch.
Sure.
But yeah, so I like it wasn't a game over for them because you just put them in the box and then there's like a 10-minute cooldown. There's some like in-game countdowns, like you can get an egg incubator because you find eggs around the place, and then I think the higher quality the egg, the longer real life time it takes for them to hatch, and sometimes there's some really good ones and ones that you've not seen before. But and also another thing I've got to say is another thing that they've kind of not really copied, that they've been influenced by is Fortnite. So the building is very much like building in Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just, you've got the wheel or whatever, you select what the building, if it's the floor or if it's the wall, but it's kind of, it just snaps together and you click it and it works.
Yeah.
So it's very Fortnite-esque. It's super, super easy, which is nice. You don't have to be super accurate. You just put down the base of a building and then it kind of, automatically snaps to where you're going to put it. So yeah, it's really good fun. It's a mix of a million genres, but it's mainly a crafting survival game, but you've got these pals that will kind of they will automate it for you. Whereas in a lot of crafting games, you build up automatic systems to get things working. Whereas this, you've got pals that will do that for you.
So that's the thing. It seems like it's a real mix of different genres and different ideas of basically loads of other popular games put together, which has been criticized by some, and other people really like that. So where do you stand on that? For you, is it more than the sum of its parts?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to compare it to Dave the Diver, because Dave the Diver does have the same issue, kind of. It's got lots of different... Someone says it's like a mile wide and an inch deep. So like they've got all these other different things. There's like the sushi restaurant management game. There's the like the fishing. There's like the vegetable growing Stardew part in Dave the Diver, but there's no real depth to it. Like it's just a bit. Whereas this, it feels like there's a fair bit of depth and thought put into every bit of it. And seeing where the roadmap that they brought out today, which I'm guessing we're going to talk about in the news, or we can talk about it now, that's interesting to see where it goes. The only thing that is not a problem for me, but there's no, as far as I'm aware at the moment, there's not a real reason to progress. Like, why would I keep playing it? I mean, I've seen people say that they've got level 50 and they're level 50, all their pals are level 50 and they're being fully upgraded and they've had an amazing time and they've beaten all the bosses and everything around there. And it's like, okay, cool, but is there like a story? Is there an end game? Like in Minecraft, there's the Ender Dragon. In a lot of crafting games, they sometimes have like a final goal that you want to aim for. But that doesn't seem to have one at the moment. At the beginning, it has like quite a cool tutorial quest line, and then there's like a boss that you fight.
Right.
I haven't discovered any other bosses, but I'm sure they are there because I've seen on the roadmap that they said that there are going to be more bosses in the future.
Yeah, which is more of an end game thing, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know if those bosses, if there are more bosses than the one that I fought and beaten. It was quite tough, I got to say. It was a good challenge. But like I say, it was a good challenge, and I had like a special like strategy with it. There were no glitches at all. I beat it. I was so close to dying and ended up just beating it right at the last minute or the last second. And it was like, it was just a really good quality experience. So I genuinely had a good time playing it. I really like it. And if you are into those kind of crafting games, it's just a lot of fun. And I think as well, people like a game that's not super, super serious sometimes. And this isn't, but it's also one that you can play with friends when the servers are working fine.
I think it was just so busy with so many people, they didn't expect it. And I think that's why the servers weren't working.
Yeah.
Like for me, I mean, you mentioned the lack of story. I think I'd seen this game, like trailers of it and the sort of build up towards it. And I hadn't clicked that it was this kind of crafting survival thing, which is not really my kind of thing anyway.
See, I quite like
those.
So
I saw it and saw the sort of Pokemon with guns line that everybody else had sort of seen and was like, okay, well, I'm interested to see what the story's going to be. And there is no story from what I'm hearing and not really much of a quest line. And I think, to be honest, that sort of puts me off playing it because I'm someone who really needs a story and an end goal and something to aim for in life, not just in games. So when it's literally, here's a world, go have fun, like I really struggle with that. And I think some people really like that. And that's the sort of thing that seems to pop off these days in terms of numbers, is this sort of, crafting, sandboxy kind of games. And personally, that's just not for me. And I don't dismiss it. I know that a lot of people like that. It's just, for me, I just look at it and think, well, then if there's no story for me, I know that I'm just not going to be sucked into that in the way that some other people will.
And some people like a grind and they like seeing small progress. Like I love City Skylines. In fact, today I was like, kind of want to play some more, even though not in stream, just play some more, because I quite like slowly building at something, getting it bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what you do. Like the end goal is going to be this giant factory that you've got loads of people and loads of pals working for you, because that's another thing you can catch people apparently.
You can, they're NPCs. It's not other players.
Yeah, you can't capture them and force them to do your work for you. But I haven't seen them. But like having a factory where everybody's working for you and you've got this a steady supply of all the crafting materials that you need, and it's all working perfectly. That's why people love games like Factorio and Satisfactory, that kind of process. So there's a bit of that in this game as well. It's just like a mix of so many things, but that appeals to a lot of people. It appeals to me as well. I don't need a story to enjoy a game. I like, City Skylines is a good example. Are you looking for another one?
Oh, hang on. I was about to do a really smooth segue, but then my phone decided not to open and needs a password. But well, you say it appeals to a lot of people. It appeals to 7 million people.
7 million?
7 million people. That is how many people have bought this game
I feel like turning it on now just so I can join the Steam concurrent viewers.
So
concurrent players.
So yeah, it's every day the sales have gone up.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Well, it's not going to go down, is it?
Well, obviously, but like gone up a lot. And the concurrent players have gone up a lot. So yeah, earlier today it reached 7 million in sales. Yesterday it was 6. The day before that it was 5. So it's doing like 1 million a day in sales.
I think the $27 price tag really, really helps. And the fact there's no microtransactions. I mean, I've seen articles that call it like a cash grab and like it's just there to be bought. But like there are no, I think that's another thing that people haven't really mentioned too much about. I mean, there are people out there that said it, but there are no microtransactions. There's no shop in there. There's nothing that would there's no currency apart from like the gold that you get in the game. It's completely, there's none of that whatsoever.
I mean, it's a sad state of the industry when that is a positive.
Yeah. But unfortunately it is. You look at that and you're like, oh wow, look at this, a game that isn't trying to just be released to kind of milk money from people. So, and it's £27, or I think it's £24, I think, if you buy it now because it's an early access.
Yeah.
And they're only going to just improve on it. But no, it's a really fun game, a really good fun game.
So that 7 million is purely from Steam sales.
Yeah.
It doesn't include Xbox sales. Plus, the game is on Game Pass. Now, there are some differences between the two, but I think we will eventually get parity. It's just it's an early access thing, I think.
I played it on Steam, and apparently it runs better on there. There's also some slight, I think people have already made mods for it to run better on Steam Deck, because apparently it doesn't run amazingly on Steam Deck. Okay. But usually people point out actually that Steam Deck usually gets kind of a verified patch when a game is nearer its full release rather than during early access. It's not a
priority, that's for sure.
Well, people, more and more people are getting them all the time.
More people are on PC though, ultimately. So when I wrote the story earlier, the concurrent player count for the game was 1,864,421, and it had just overtaken Counter-Strike 2, which was also 1.8 million. So it's just overtaken that to become the second, or the game with the second highest concurrent player count on Steam. It's now got even higher since I wrote this. It's now over 2 million.
What's it like right now? Because I imagine this, because we're recording it. How do we find it? Is it Steam? Oh, does it actually show?
SteamDB is a very useful website.
I use ProtonDB because that tells me about Steam Deck. SteamDB. I mean, Palworld, they're like...
That's the one.
Palworld is currently... Oh, yeah, over... It's actually quite low. Oh, wait, no, it's...
No, players now is 900,000.
Yeah.
Which is pretty high. But its all-time peak now is at over 2 million.
It's weird that it kind of peaks at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that people looking at the peaks? It's quite interesting.
So the developer is Japanese. I don't know where in the world it's most popular. But if you're saying 2 in the afternoon, that would imply like evening Japan.
Yeah.
So I suspect maybe that.
Yeah. 7 hours ago was the all-time peak of over 2 million.
So that's over 2 million. The highest concurrent player count of any game is PUBG. And that is 3.26, I'm rounding up, million. 3.26 million. And Palworld's already over 2 million. So I wouldn't be surprised if it overtakes that to have the highest number.
I don't know. I do think as well there will be a bit of a drop off because it's not got huge longevity. There's not a massive end game, as far as I'm aware.
True. But they are adding more stuff.
Yeah.
So they announced today that there is a roadmap of improvements, of new stuff that's coming. So in the short term, the main thing is addressing some issues. So things like bugs. Apparently there's like a persistent loading screen that happens for some people. They want to improve some of the AI of the pals, things like that.
Yeah, don't shoot level 36 monsters, you fucking useless.
Yeah.
Pal.
There are also some technical things. So they want to have Steam and Xbox crossplay.
I think there's cross save,
but not cross play.
That's right. I think someone started on Xbox and played it for a bit and was like, this is not as good. And then they switched to Steam and found all their stuff was there.
Yeah. They want to have some improvements to the Xbox version, server transfers, improving building. But then there are more sort of content-y updates. So they're going to add in PvP, which would be cool.
Yeah, that's a great thing about having your pals being able to like you catch more to kind of level them up. So even if your pals are if you're both level 50, then the one that's going to be like have higher stats is the one that you've kind of what's it called again? The fused some extra ones, so the stats are slightly higher. You can also like interchange their moves, similar to Pokemon. So yeah, there would be if there is PvP, I can see it being there being like metas
like
and various things. Yeah, it's definitely got the ability. It's not shallow in its gameplay in that case.
There's going to be end game raid bosses. So
that
again,
might be
that's
quite
increasing
fun.
the end game. And then a PAL arena for PAL PvP, which to me sounds like Pokemon Stadium. Which I think would be cool.
Yeah.
And then new islands, new pals, new bosses, new technologies.
It's really pretty as well. It's like an archipelago. I think they call it the Palapagos Islands.
Yes, they do.
Which is a great name.
They do.
Yeah.
So there are updates coming. Obviously, it's early access, as we've said. Also, PlayStation is potentially eyeing it up. So basically, this was Shuhei Yoshida, who is the head of indies at PlayStation. Basically, he's in charge of deciding what indie games get put on PlayStation. And the game is not on PlayStation at the moment. And I don't think PlayStation necessarily thought that it was going to be a massive success.
I don't think anybody did. Well,
because it's blown up so
it's
quickly.
Had like 3 years of build-up and stuff, but it was still kind of relatively
It was dismissed as PlayStation with guns. Well, Pokemon with guns.
But when the game first came out, people just referred to it as like, oh, the meme game is quite fun.
Yeah.
Because everyone just expected it to be kind of like a trashy meme game.
Yeah.
And the only reason why there's this backlash about, I mean, we could talk about that, but like about the backlash is that it's so popular. Are we going to use that? Well, we could talk about that now. Got a bit of a Palworld section.
I was going to say, I've got all the news ready, Ben. Just just let me focus on the structure.
Well, who's the host? But Palworld, yeah, like I think that game they weren't expecting it to be as big as it was, and at all. I don't think anybody was seeing this, but
no.
That's the reason why there's pushback. Because whenever there's something that's really popular, there'll be contrarian people that are just want to shit on people's cornflakes.
So PlayStation have taken note. Yoshida basically responded to the official Palworld account on X, formerly Twitter.
No, it's Twitter. Just call it Twitter.
Basically just to congratulate them on how well it's doing. And a random fan basically replied to him being like, can you get this on PS5, please? Or, what are you doing about it? And he just replied with, yes. And he tagged in the PlayStation's partner development executive for China and Japan. So that was a fairly public admittance of like, yeah, we're looking at this.
Do PlayStation do early access games though?
I mean, they should if they don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't think of one that has, but I also can't think of a reason why they wouldn't.
The only one I know that was in early access is Fortnite. Because technically the Battle Royale was early access for about 5 years. Years and years and years it was. Yeah. I don't think it still says that anymore. I might be wrong. But I feel like, yeah, it was early access for years.
Yeah.
And that was obviously on there. But when it's like a janky early access game with not much content, I feel like that doesn't get put on PlayStation. I mean,
there's enough other shit on the PlayStation Store.
Some of the stuff that gets put on
every store. So early access means nothing. Yeah. The other elephant in the room, of course, is Nintendo, who Nintendo has not commented on the game.
Can you imagine putting it on the Switch?
Yeah. Neither has the Pokemon Company.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's been said there, but there were some interesting comments from the Pokemon Company's former chief legal officer called Don McGowan. Former. So he worked for the Pokemon Company between 2008 and 2020, and was interviewed basically about the release. And he said, "This looks like the usual rip-off nonsense that I would see 1,000 times a year when I was chief legal officer of Pokemon. I'm just surprised it got this far." Now, that's sort of the closest that we've got so far to like a Nintendo comment on it. Obviously, Nintendo have taken down that mod as well. I guess the sort of big controversy with the game is people saying how close it looks to Pokemon. There's a lot of accusations about the use of AI and about how similar the designs are to
the AI
Pokemon.
things have stopped because people have realized that it's not AI.
So the AI thing, basically, I think people looked at it and thought it looks generic. It must be AI, which is just the answer to everything these days. And maybe don't jump to that conclusion and do some research first.
That's the thing on Twitch. People just love to state stuff Twitter. People love to state stuff that they feel and they state it as fact. And they're like, "Don't buy this game. It's AI trash." And I'm like, this person had been retweeted by like 10,000 people. And then a lot of the comments were like, "Do you have any like actual claims that like back up that this is AI?" Because they were showing these pals, and I'm gonna end up like I sound like a huge defender of it just because I've enjoyed the game, but that there are so many lies just going around about the game. But the game came out. They announced and showed a lot of their pal designs like 3 years ago, which the AI that has happened now didn't. That is like what it's like right now didn't exist back in 2020.
Yeah.
So. Unless they've got a time machine. I mean, maybe they could potentially obviously use AI for kind of initial, like the sketches to see, or the concept art potentially, but it's
maybe. I mean, the CEO basically, people have picked up on comments from a few years ago, or at least previously, where he mentioned something vaguely positive about AI. I can't remember the actual comments.
But if you want to find a CEO of a gaming company that hasn't said a positive thing about AI, you're going to actually be quite difficult. It's going to be quite difficult to find.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive part of technology that everyone is at least going to discuss and acknowledge, and may find what they consider to be a positive use of AI.
Like in marketing, it's not always about game design that AI is going to be talked. People are going to use AI in various other, like in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. The last game was called Craftopia, which when you look at it does look very similar to Breath of the Wild. And yes, Palworld does look very similar to Pokemon. There are a lot of similarities with the designs. Now, on the one hand, you can argue that a lot of Pokemon designs are kind of inspired by real life. I mean, you talked about the sheep one that looks like a Wooloo. Well, maybe they both just look like sheep.
There's a wolf that looks like a wolf.
Yeah, and there are a lot of similarities to nature, which is kind of just natural because that's where inspiration comes from. Equally, I wouldn't be surprised if underneath it all, they've kind of done that on purpose because they know how popular Pokemon is. So,
and who knows how many...
it might be a bit cynical, but they're probably doing it just to try and get people interested. And it works because people called it Pokemon with guns.
But people
it worked.
People love Pokemon, but Pokemon hasn't released a decent, like a well-performing game like in a long, long time. So, I mean, Pokemon Scarlet came out. This game looks 10 times better than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
I mean, it's on different platform, but yes.
Yeah, but I mean, that is very true. But like just the performance itself is making it so people are interested. Because like, oh my God, Pokemon, but it looks pretty. But the actual gameplay itself is mainly based around crafting and leveling up your Pokemon, but like fusing, but...
Your pals.
Yeah, I'm calling them Pokemon. The gameplay itself, like the main thing is to have a base and to build it up and stuff, and that is not Pokemon.
No, so it's just one part of it.
It's an amalgamation of a million different genres, and people are finding a lot of fun. It's goofy, it's funny. It's like a nice place to be in the game as well. It's not miserable. Enshrouded came out today, and a kind of more difficult but like miserable looking crafting survival game. So. Oh yeah, it's dark and grim, but like that's what a lot of them are like, and apparently the game is all right. But this is just like positive. It's like Fortnite. It's colourful, it's bright, it's positive, and you can goof around in it. I think that's one of the reasons why Minecraft does really well as well.
That's why Nintendo games do well.
Yeah, it's
like
colourful.
Pokemon.
Well, it's colours, just
People like bright colours.
They do.
Is that our concluding thought? People like Palworld is good because people like bright things.
Exactly. And like, some of the criticism, like they were like, is it AI or is it plagiarism or is it, there's just been lots of accusations thrown around and there's people, armchair legal experts on both sides giving their opinion as fact. And it's like, well, you know what? If it's plagiarism, I'll let the lawyers deal with it. I'm not a freaking lawyer. I'm not going to go and there are people that obviously will protest against things and they'll boycott stuff if it's against what their morals are. But it's like, we don't know what it is. We don't know what they feel like. It's a small independent company that is kind of working on this game that, they've had an inspiration and they've probably used some of that inspiration a bit more than just inspiration and kind of based some of their things on what they've seen and had inspiration from, and they expected this game to kind of just be released and probably be quite successful, a few 100,000 copies maybe, if it was, the positive side, and then kind of just settle at a low level. And I'm like, I enjoy the game. I'm going to play it. It's not, there's no evil person behind there that I must kind of punish by boycotting this game. I feel like people do love to look for a boycott and look for a reason, because I've seen people saying like, if you're playing that game, you're supporting this, that, and the other. It's like, just get over yourself. Somebody was bitching at me earlier on Twitter because I was like, just let people enjoy it. You don't need to...
The words of Ben Ostwick, get over yourself.
Well, no, that's a bit antagonistic. I'd say a little bit. Just let people enjoy things. You don't need to make a political point and a boycott about every little thing. Like, if they did plagiarize it, if they did take some of the designs and put it in a game, so fucking what? Let the lawyers deal with that. If it's a game you're going to enjoy, just go and enjoy it. You don't need to stand up on White Knight for Nintendo. They're fine, or Game Freak.
Well, that's Palworld, everyone. It's
Let
the biggest
people enjoy things. Enjoy it. For God's sake, enjoy that game.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people are. It is all over the news. It's everywhere right now, and it will probably disappear in a couple of weeks.
We will not be talking about it in a couple of weeks, I imagine. Yeah.
Now it's the big thing.
And don't worry, it'll be one of those games that's in early access for like 5 years and then slowly puts out 1.0 because Steam doesn't allow a game in early access for more than 5 years. Did you know that?
I didn't, but there we go.
That's why some games like I think it was Factorio or... Yeah, it was one of those kind of games that they had to go into 1.0 just because Steam wouldn't allow it. But it didn't make any difference.
Have you played anything else this week?
Well, we'll talk about mine in a bit. I've spoken so much. What do you think about Prince of Persia?
Prince of Persia. The Lost
Prince.
I keep saying...
No, the Lost Crown.
Is it the Lost Crown?
It's the Lost Crown. It's the Lost Crown. Yeah, not Prince of Persia, the Lost Prince. That would be too many princes.
Oh, yeah, that would be very silly, wouldn't it?
The Lost Crown.
Yeah.
TLC.
That is true.
Pop TLC.
Pop TLC. It's very good. I'm very near the end of it now.
Oh.
And I very, very much enjoyed it.
God.
We talked a bit about it last week because we just started it. But
yeah,
we didn't
both played like
much.
an hour or two each.
And before that, we did a little YouTube quick look at the beginning. And I quite liked it at the beginning, but it didn't make the best first impression for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said this last week, like there is a slight cheapness to it. I don't think visually it's the best, on a technical level, maybe not the best looking game in the world. There's lots of sort of static pictures of characters and like the voice acting's good. The voice, what's the word?
Like the
mouth
syncing and all that.
Lip syncing, that's the word. Like isn't particularly great. And I think it starts off a little bit slow in the sense of it's a Metroidvania. And the point of Metroidvanias is that you slowly dole out more and more abilities to expand the map and go further. And there are certain abilities you just expect to get, like, you're going to get a double jump, you're going to get a wall dash or a wall jumping thing and a dash and whatever else. Just standard things in every Metroidvania. And so this kind of doles those out. Some of them it doesn't. You don't get a double jump until 2/3 in, which is basically just
spoiler.
Edging you. You're welcome.
I enjoy being edged.
There you go. But it kind of gives you a lot of the standard Metroidvania-y sort of abilities, and the level design's fine, but it wasn't wowing me. And I was like, okay, like this just feels pretty standard of the genre, to be honest. Like this is nice, and I like the setting of the sort of Prince of Persia, the sort of Middle Eastern palace setting, but it wasn't wowing me. And then And then I got really into it.
I've heard like everybody so far, so 3 people that I've heard about it have all said after the first third, it's like, oh, this game's good.
I wouldn't. There's not necessarily like a certain point that it just clicked.
It's not like an act 2.
Well, I mean, there's an obvious point where yes, the sort of act 2 begins. I wouldn't say there was necessarily a specific moment that made me think suddenly, wow. But there is a bit of a build up, and you start to get more interesting abilities.
Different to normal.
And I won't say what they are, but they're more interesting and more unique abilities.
I'm not going to say what they are, but do the Sands of Time play a part in it?
Not specifically, no.
Okay.
Not in the way you're thinking of the Sands of Time from the previous game.
Okay, I was like, oh, okay.
No. Like, time travel is a theme of it.
Yes, there is.
As you already know.
Yeah.
Because you're in this sort of big mountain palace, but time flows
affected people differently, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a theme, and that comes up in puzzles and stuff like that overall.
Okay, interesting.
But they start getting a lot more creative with the puzzles. The puzzles are there are literal puzzles to solve, but there's also just platforming challenges that are really intricate and really require you to think about your moveset and how you get around different areas, which are really clever and make you feel amazing because it's so smooth to play. The controls are so intuitive. It feels great to do them. And so when you work out your route of how you're going to get to the other side of the room with barely any platforms, but you start linking together your moves, like it feels great. So they're really good at that. There are then certain areas that do genuinely look great. You've got these huge vistas in the background or just really elaborate architecture that you're like, okay, this is really playing on the style and the sort of theming of the game, which is great. So it all starts to build up and it just feels so much more interesting than I thought it would at the beginning. There is an amazing section towards the end of that second act.
Okay.
That's just super cool. All I'll say is that it's kind of in the east, but it's really, really cool. I won't say any more because I want you to experience it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play that. I'm not sure if that's going to be my next game.
I think it should be.
I think so. I really want to play Yakuza Like a Dragon. And I feel like that this might be good in the middle of the 2 Yakuza games because I can't be playing both after one another.
That's true. So,
or maybe just have both going at the same time.
Or maybe do that.
Because they're both very different ones. Yeah.
So I'm not quite finished it yet. I'm excited to see what happens at the very end. I'm at the point now of sort of, I think I've just got the last ability. And so now it's a sort of cleanup of the last bits of the world and sort of any other, last pickups and items. I'm really tempted to platinum it.
Yeah, I know.
Don't think it's too much more to platinum it after the main game.
I know Chaddy in our community has platinumed it. Yep. Loved it.
Well, I know people have talked about it in what they've been playing, so I won't say too much more. But just, I think it's been a big surprise for a lot of people, and it surprised me even while playing it. In that, like I say, I started it and just thought, oh, okay, it's a Prince of Persia Metroidvania, sure. I know what to expect now, and then it got a lot more creative than I thought it was going to be.
And the people are hot in it.
I mean, yes, that is true.
I am very, very, very happy because I do really, really like Ubisoft games. Like the company itself obviously has its issues, which we can't ignore. But Ubisoft games I find just really good fun. I just love them. I really enjoy an Assassin's Creed game. Obviously, I love the Division 1 and 2, 1 especially. Far Cry games, I pretty much play every single one that comes out and finish them. Except for 6, I need to do that actually. And just Ubisoft games in general, I really enjoy. And and also Prince of Persia is one of the first games that I finished that was like not a kid's game. And loved Sands of Time. So just very happy, and I can't wait to go get properly into that.
Nice.
Also, I feel like that's going to open me up to more games in that genre, and you're going to be like, you're going to go and play Hollow Knight.
Absolutely, you do.
But the other game that I've been playing...
Tell us.
Chants of Sennaar.
Ooh.
Which is a game that is very beautiful. It is a puzzle game, and it's all really about understanding language. It's Duolingo. But artsy.
The puzzle game.
The puzzle game. And what it is, you are presented with a small kind of enclosed level area. And you in that area, so it's maybe it takes place in a tower. So obviously you start at the bottom of the tower.
As you do.
Yeah. And in that world, it's very orange. You've probably seen it. And it's like the art style is gorgeous. It's very kind of orange and reds. And it's quite like, it's very hand-drawn cartoon, not cartoony, but
minimalist, right?
Very minimalist. And yeah, because your character's face doesn't really get shown that much. And yeah, so you are like walking around and you speak to these people, but you don't know their language. So you have to kind of work it out from various things around the world. Like there's one where there's a lever and you push it and you pull it, and the next to it are two words. And then what happens to that, when you pull the lever or push the lever, will kind of work out what is that word. And so for example, if you push, this is an example, it's not in the game, so I don't want to spoil any of the puzzles, but for example, if there's a switch and you press one button and the light goes on, and you press the other button and the light goes off, and those words next to it, that the word at the top will be on and the word at the bottom will be off. And what you can do is you can make notes. So you've got these symbols that you've found, and you can write a note of what you think that word is. So you might click on, and then you might write on where it is, and then you might write off for the other symbol. And then every now and again, when the game thinks that you've worked out, or you've got all the ability to kind of understand what some of those words are, you can then take a guess. And it will open up a page of maybe images of this, and then you can kind of put the corresponding letters next to those images. So for example, if it was on, there might be a light and it's bright, and then there might be a light where the light bulb's turned off, and you put where you think on and what you think the letter for off is. And then if you're correct, it'll validate it.
Okay, everything you've just said is very confusing.
Yeah.
So
I've made a bad joke. I explained it very badly.
Well, slightly, but also, is it in practice? Like, is it quite intuitive in practice, the way that it builds up and you slowly learn the language? Yeah.
You are just translating what the words are in the game into what you think they are. And then you build up that language, because then you'll then talk to people and you'll understand a few of those words. But like if you're meeting three people and they all start with the same symbol or the same letter, it's symbols, and each one has runes, totally different, kind of like runes.
Okay.
And so if everybody's saying the first thing, then you're probably like, oh, that's probably hello.
Yeah. Okay.
So you kind of make a little note that that's hello. And if you see it's weird, because you've got to kind of work out from context. You can work out what letters are. Mm-hmm. You can work out from literally just looking at them, and the shape of some words might look similar to something that it is. So then you kind of guess that. So there are so many different ways of working out what those words mean and what you're translating. And there's even some where it's like a Rosetta Stone, and they'll say something. So for example, if you go to the next area, so each level has a different language, and usually when you go to the next level, there's like a slab which will have a word in the language or a phrase in the language that you've just learned, and then a phrase in the new one. And you can kind of work out how a sentence is formed, because maybe it's not subject, verb, object. Maybe the negative isn't the word not. Maybe it's something else that they do to it. Maybe the nouns have a very specific thing happening to them. Maybe it's, a noun has a circle around it. So you've got to kind of just work out there. Some of it is quite, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. And some of it is a little bit confusing.
So as an ex-English as a foreign language teacher, did your experience with that help you in the game?
Definitely. Definitely. Because it's like, there are, for example, in Spanish, if it's a question, you put a question mark at the beginning and a question mark at the end. And there's something similar in this one. And I'm like, oh, okay, you kind of recognize it. And there are, obviously, I know in Spanish, if you only know one language, then you're going to find it a little bit trickier. And because you're just used to your language being as it is. But if you are, you've learned a different language, then it might be that the verb goes first. Or there might be no verb for be. Like there's no word for to be. Like in Arabic, they don't say be. They'll say literally I Ben. Or me Ben. They don't say I am Ben.
Ah.
So
I did not know that.
There you go. There are lots of weird things. And I mean, yeah, there are 5 different languages, but they're all slightly different. There's one that's very similar to Arabic, and there's one that's similar to like hieroglyphics, and there's one that's very futuristic, and it's just like lines that are like jutting out. And it's
so you get to the point, I guess, at the end of sort of each level where you're essentially fluent in that language.
Yeah, you can technically go to the next area without learning all of the words.
Right.
I only at one point I did that, and I was like, "Whoa, I need to turn around and find those words that I'm missing," and then realize I missed a total obvious area. But yeah, so you can technically do that, but there are certain puzzles in there that are a bit obtruse. Is that the word?
Abstruse.
Abstruse. I know you get upset when people say obtuse. So there are certain puzzles that like are at the very, very end. I'm not going to spoil anything, but at the very, very end, there's a couple of things where I'm like, I just don't know or can't be asked to go and really think about this. I just want this kind of to be over. So I kind of just looked on the internet for one of the puzzles because I was like, I can't be asked like running around, because there were some points where I was just running around for 20 minutes, being like, I know it, and then it kind of twigs, and It's just like, oh, of course. So that felt good. Whereas weirdly, like with Tunic, well, not necessarily Tunic, but with Cocoon, I was like, it just made me feel stupid. But this made me
make you feel clever.
It did in quite a few moments. Okay. But there are some, and I think you'll get really frustrated in certain parts of it because there's a maths part of it.
I thought you said this was a language game.
Yeah, but
I don't want maths.
Numbers are part of language.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a numbers gay. I'm a letters gay.
So there's a little bit of maths that you have to work with, but it's not too bad. I didn't have any problems with it really.
What are we talking? Like 1 + 1 is 2?
No, it's like how they form a number. So a number might not just be one after the other. It might be a different way that it's.
I'm already
displayed.
Confused.
I'll help you with that bit.
Thank you.
But there's so there are some parts where I'm like, I really don't know. But like and there are some moments where I did feel stupid. Like there was a bit where there was a picture of a caterpillar and then a butterfly, and I was like, okay, that obviously means nature. Didn't think to me, oh, of course, there's a link between a caterpillar and a butterfly that I didn't quite twig. And some of the images that you're like when you have to verify what you think a word means, some of the images are maybe not as clear, which is a bit it's fine, but there were a couple of moments. The one thing that really let it down though is the stealth part.
Stealth missions in a language game.
There are stealth missions, and there's just no point in them. Like they don't add anything to it apart from maybe a little heightened drama. And they wanted some kind of, I don't know, I have no idea why they put the stealth bits in it, but it just takes away because nobody likes a stealth bit nobody ever likes a stealth.
Unless it's a stealth game.
If it's a stealth game, even then, just let me turn it off. I want Splinter Cell where I just run to the base, dodge all the bullets, and then get to where I need to be.
That's not that game.
But no, neither is this game. And there's like one particular level where you're kind of sneaking around, and it's just like, eventually, obviously, I won't spoil it, but like, it's not a problem. But then like it's just unexpected stealth in certain places that I just don't need. I mean, it's immediately takes you back to where you were at the start. Like if you get spotted in a stealth mission, the most you're going to lose is about 10 seconds. So it's fine. It's just unnecessary. And it kind of takes away from what is just like a really good puzzle. Because without the stealth stuff, if it was really chilled, maybe like right at the end, I'd be a bit more willing to kind of spend 10-15 minutes thinking about a puzzle rather than being like, I'll quickly Google a hint. So yeah.
So Chants of Sennaar is a fun, good little language puzzle game.
Yeah, and it is although there are parts of it that are about as confusing as when I try to explain it. It's just you're translating words, and you're translating those words
by solving puzzles.
And it's just a little bit like Duolingo. If you've ever used that, they'll give you a sentence and you've got to kind of, you translate it, but then you see that certain words go in a different order in a different language, and then you have to kind of create that yourself. So
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I think there was a demo. I don't know if there still is a demo.
You played this on the Steam Deck, right?
I did. It looked gorgeous on the OLED.
Yeah.
Another game on the OLED. Another Steam Deck game I've played.
Another one I'm going to steal.
There are 3. I finished 3 Steam Deck games in the last month. Are you proud of me?
Very.
And I'm going to play Yakuza Like a Dragon on Steam Deck as well.
Yes, because the new one is out.
We
want to play it.
So that's what we've been playing.
Let's find out what other people have been playing. Now, we've got some essays this week.
Ooh.
So I will have to try and go through them quickly. We begin with Malathos, who's been playing Sea of Stars, which is an excellent game that may have featured in our Game of the Year list.
Check it out.
Which is a wonderful retro-inspired RPG. I would definitely recommend this to anyone that has any nostalgia for the RPGs of the 90s and early 2000s. The pixel art is bright and wonderful. It's not exactly like those RPGs of yore, but it is exactly your memory of them. I think it successfully embraces the nostalgic lens that we view those games through. I think the only thing I can say I dislike about it is that the world feels a bit small, but I think that's a debatable point. I find myself simultaneously missing random encounters on the world map, but also relieved they aren't there. I would love to know how far through you are, Malathos, because I also felt like the game was a bit small, but then it's not.
Oh, well, spoiler. You're ruining everyone's games today, aren't you?
I'm not spoiling it. It's just there is more to it than you might think.
Sure. Is there a deep area? I've just discovered the deep area in Zelda, which I had no idea existed.
I know. I've spent last year trying not to spoil that for you, even though it was very obvious.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious when you were obviously talking about. Have you visited an area that's very similar to one in Elden Ring? Well, you don't have Sky Islands in Elden Ring, so I'm guessing it's the deep. Yeah.
I didn't say that.
I had no idea what it was like, and I went down there for the first time, and
it's terrifying, right?
Yeah, but I had no idea that it was like dark, and you had to kind of use bright. Because I got so many of those bright blooms,
and you're like, where do I use them?
Why do I have so many of these?
Now you know.
Now I know.
Well, I look forward to your escapades in that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't mentioned that because, well, we only talked really about a couple of 2 or 3 games. But yeah, I just did the Water Temple, Wind Temple. Water Temple will be next week, and loving it.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Chaddy has been playing Prince of Persia. It's completely consumed me from Thursday until Monday. 34 hours later, and I got the Platinum Trophy. I'm not sure how many I'm in, so I've probably still got a long way to go.
Well, no, because you're one of those annoying people that like beats the boss third try, aren't you?
Well, no, I had a lot of trouble yesterday with the boss. It took a while.
I don't think I was here, thankfully.
You were streaming and I was screaming.
Okay.
What a fantastic game that I enjoyed so much despite the bugs I encountered. One being on a boss fight and the other one being able to accept a side quest. Hopefully they'll be patched soon. The platforming, puzzles and fighting are fun, if at times frustrating, but they are quick and simple enough to do over, which makes you want to keep playing. The story is not massive in terms of narrative or anything that will blow you away, but what is there is enough to tie everything together to get you bouncing from one side of the map to the other, which is where this game shines. The map does a great job of helping you out. I played guided mode, so I never had the need for the screenshot tool. However, it's a nice feature if needed. I definitely use that a lot.
Oh, yeah, so maybe, yeah, you are. If he's 34 hours with that, then maybe you've got a little bit further to go then.
Maybe.
But yeah, you had an issue with that side quest, didn't you?
Yeah, there's a side quest that bugged, but Chaddy helped me out, and I got through it, which is good. The customization of the difficult settings is also good in that you can tailor the experience to be harder or easier for you. However, I refuse to play anything but normal. I am stubborn, and that's the way the game is intended to be played, so I refuse to change it.
No, I don't believe that. That's bollocks. No game is intended to be played normal. If a game has a mode that's easy, hard, or difficult, or easy, difficult, or normal, all 3 are ways that the game can be played and should be played. And I will say nothing.
Chaddy, you're not normal, you're just average.
Wow. I think that's worse than... Playing a game easy is playing the game the proper way just as much.
It's playing however you want to play it. My main criticisms are the bugs encountered, but also the world feels a little empty and lifeless after the main story, where you're just collecting everything for the trophies. I mean, that's most games.
Oh,
I think.
Platinum Death Stranding. I know that feeling.
Yeah. Overall, a great game of which I hope there may be some DLC or a sequel. 8 out of 10. I would love to see a sequel to it, but I don't know if they will, because a lot of Prince of Persia games have been quite individual, apart from the Sands of Time trilogy, but they got progressively worse.
But if people are saying like, "Hey, we'd like a sequel to this," they're like, "Well, that was really good, well received. We've got a whole platform and
I feel like Metroidvania and Prince of Persia just go hand in hand. It just makes sense.
Yeah, and some of the best Metroidvanias are all getting sequels.
Come on, Hollow Knight. Where's Silksong?
Hollow Knight sequel. There's Metroid Dread. Is there a sequel to that coming?
Bloody hope so.
What's another good one that I'm trying to think of? Metroidvania.
I mean, we need another Castlevania game. That's what we need. Give us a remake of Symphony of the Night, and I will jizz my pants.
You heard it here first.
There you go.
Will you do it on stream?
If requested. Riley, when my joints chill out enough for me to game with any regularity, I've been playing a lot more Zelda randomizers.
I love Riley's Zelda randomizer. I love it. There's sometimes you've got a game that you just turn to when you're in the mood to play it. And whatever mood you're in, you're always going to just go to this kind of comfort food.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've discovered the joy and struggle of pot sanity, where all the pots in the world have the potential to have a major item. It adds a whole new dimension of what the actual fuck, and makes you think about even more places to explore or check for items. That's actually really clever. You could just get a random item in a pot right at the beginning.
That makes the game super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, there are so many pots in Zelda games. Where do you...
That's all I used to play with Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Is that the Link to the Past one I played on SNES?
That is the SNES one, yeah.
Yeah, I just went around cutting grass and smashing pots. That's all I did.
That's Zelda for you. Mofo says, I may or may have not put in 40 hours... Yeah, that is what he said. I may or may not have put 40 hours of Octopath Traveler 2 these past 2 weeks, and I regret nothing. If you aren't aware of the format, it's a JRPG with 8 storylines, and each storyline has multiple chapters. I have reached the halfway point with all the storylines so far, and I'm enjoying this tremendously. I played the first Octopath Traveler, and they took the same formula and improved on it. The stories are now more intertwined, and the combat feels more refined. The art style is still beautiful, and the different job systems, at least the ones I've unlocked, are fun, and finding out which job combinations best synchronize with each other is fun. Overall, I'm enjoying playing this game. If I have to give it a critique, it would have to be that the storylines are a bit predictable, and some of the voice lines fall a bit flat.
See, I quite like the predictability of it. I don't mind something that's a bit predictable when it comes... I don't know. Those games...
When it comes to that style of RPG, there are going to be certain tropes.
There are, but I just love how each story... It's obviously the same style, but every one of those stories is very much its own... It's very much its own thing to start with. Anyway, just they feel so different. There's... Oh, I always want to call him Carpaccio. What's his name again? The cowboy. My name's Carpaccio.
I can't remember his name, but Carpaccio is a much better name.
Yeah, it's got it's Patio.
Partitio.
Is it Partitio?
There you go.
Partitio. And I love how they've just gone 100%. This is a Western story.
Yeah.
And then there's another story that the Japanese samurai.
Yeah.
And then there's the guy that's kind of escaping a prison in the northern frozen.
The mage
in the lands, and it's he's been in prison or whatever, and he's escaped. Or can't remember exactly. It's been a while. But every story is just very, very, very distinct.
I really want to go back to it because I loved what I played.
Yeah.
I guess my fear, to your point there, is the opening the best bit of each because of the stories, I worry that it fizzles out. But I really want to keep playing to find out.
Yeah. And then I think you can go back in quite easily, and you can look at I think it does a good job of explaining what you've already read as well. So you don't need to kind of restart it.
Dan Law's been playing some Palworld. An amalgamation of so many different games that works really well. A bit grindy, but honestly just nice to have a new game to play with friends.
Yeah.
While the Pals clearly have designs inspired by Pokemon and other monster-type games, films, and anime, it's easily forgiven as this is kind of evolution that I always wanted for the Pokemon games as a kid. Sans guns, of course. And someone has finally given it to me. A little buggy, and the game has crashed a few times.
Oh.
To be expected given the expectations set, but not happening nowhere near as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, an early access game in the first day or two not being Well, I've not
I mean, it's
encountered
early
any.
access,
Yeah,
so you kind of expect it. It's fine.
and I've also encountered 0 bugs. Like, yeah, literally not a single bug. But yeah, that's pretty much what we said as well about it.
So Linny Lavi's been playing Love and Deep Space on mobile, which released this week. Basically a dating sim with a few battles here and there. There's fierce competition between which guy is the best one. I mean, isn't that always the case in these things?
Always a battle. Let them fight for you.
And lastly, we've got a little essay from Mr. Wibble. I finished Spirit of the North, and it was such a pretty experience and ending. The game doesn't really get much harder, but the story is interesting, if a bit uncomplicated. It does make me wonder what Spirit of the North 2 will be about. I too started Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and while it has its frustrating moments, it very much captures the feel of the OG Prince of Persia for me, because Mr. Wibble was around for that in the 1940s.
Wow.
Beautiful game, well done 2D platforming, and challenging combat that takes some time to get back into if you put the game away for a few days. There's the occasional challenge where you have to fail a few times before figuring out the mechanics.
Yeah.
But other than it being embarrassing, if other people are watching, they've not yet felt unfair. Oh, and Palworld. Wibble's been busy this week.
I do like a game that doesn't. You can die a few times, but you're learning each time. Like Celeste.
And you go back straight away to where you were.
Yeah. Do you do that in?
Well, no, actually, you do and you don't.
You do in bosses, don't you?
You do in bosses, you retry immediately, but
I like
otherwise
that.
you go back to what are the whack trees.
But you don't lose all your stuff, do you?
You don't. However, what I've done a few times is maybe it's the last whack tree you rested at.
Okay.
And so if you've gone across the map and gone through a huge area without resting, you'll go back to the whack tree you were at, which might have been miles away. Not between those, but there are teleport points.
No, that's right, because I've unlocked a teleport point, and it was like, yeah, you've unlocked it. Okay.
So that sometimes is annoying. So what I would say is, even if you're just dashing around the world, always stop at every tree you
register
get to.
Register your nearest whack.
Yes, always do that.
But I love the fact that bosses you immediately try again. Not that I've had any
nice.
trouble with bosses. But...
Oh, because they're perfect.
Well, I know you died in a boss that I didn't die at.
Good luck. Wibble play Palworld. What is there to say about Palworld other than an entertaining survival monster collecting game? Palworld is a bit grindy in places as you want to progress your base and want to level up your pals, but for early access there's lots to do already. There's the occasional glitch where things disappear or mobs just get stuck in the map, but that's easily forgotten when you can shoot penguins with a bazooka.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more.
Actually, no, one did go into a... Yeah, one did disappear.
There you go. I'd love to see more of a storyline to break up the grind, but that may not be what Pocket Pair is going for.
No. Maybe if they have progression battles or something like bosses that you don't even need a story, but just a reason to grind. And it sounds like if they're doing end game raids and things, then potentially.
Nice. Well, as usual, we should finish up with the headlines.
Ooh.
Yes. Most of which has been Palworld, and we've already talked about because that's been in the news. But there are a couple of other things to bring up, including the next game in the WWE 2K series.
Is it WWE 2K26?
No, it's 2K24.
Oh, that's a shock.
It's coming out in March.
This March?
Which is quite soon.
Oh.
The 8th of March.
Oh.
Now, one thing that is a bit weird is that there are different editions to this game, but they have different release dates.
I don't like games that do that.
No, it's quite weird. So there's the sort of standard version, which comes out on the 8th of March. But then there is a deluxe version, and then the 40 Years of WrestleMania version, which is 120 quid.
How much?
And they both come out on the 5th of March. So you get a 3-day head start if you buy the fancy versions.
I dislike it when they do that.
Yes.
But yeah, that's...
But one thing that's cool is that it is the whole sort of theme of this game is that it's celebrating the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania.
Have you ever watched WrestleMania?
I don't have a fucking clue what that is, but I'm sure you know.
Well, have you ever watched Biggest Mania?
No. I don't watch your stream.
Wow. So, yeah, WrestleMania is like the major big event.
Is it a battle royale?
No, that is the
Royal Rumble. That's what I meant.
No, the Royal Rumble is the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
That's usually in January. WrestleMania is like the granddaddy of them all.
Okay.
Is what they call it. Do you know what a pay-per-view is?
Would you pay to watch something?
Yeah, but they call them PLEs now. Because that's the lingo. It's Premium Live Event, I think. or premium event. But like, so they have the weekly shows, Raw and SmackDown.
I've heard of those things.
Okay, great. So they have those weekly shows, and then back in my day, it used to be like every 5 weeks or so they would have a pay-per-view, which would be on a Sunday. Which the other ones are always on a Monday generally it's Monday and a Friday. But then on a Sunday they would have a big one, and that would be like the big one where all the load of title matches and like the big special matches, and it'd be the one that you would have to pay back in the day. It'd be like £40 to watch, or £20 to watch.
Watch how many? One?
Yeah, for literally one of them.
One?
Well, not for one match, but for the pay-per-view. But it's like 4 hours long, or 3 hours long. So yeah, that.
And how frequent was that?
It was like every 5-6 weeks. Now it's like every 3 or 4. It's wild. But you don't pay those. That was what it was like back in the day, you know. But like boxing, if people used to like pay for a boxing event, and it'd be like sometimes £100.
Anyone would pay for a boxing event.
No.
Why do you want to pay to watch two men hit each other?
Some people are into that.
No. What is fun about that? There is nothing entertaining to me about that whatsoever.
Well, just because other people like it doesn't mean that it's not enjoyable, okay?
No, in the case of boxing, it is.
Well,
I
don't get it either.
I have no interest in watching people hit each other.
No. Not without, like, sex at the end.
Wow. Like, at least in wrestling, I sort of appreciate that it's basically pantomime.
Yeah, it's like watching...
So it's pretty camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like when they start talking, it's all a story. They're using these fights to tell a story, like in Tekken, for example.
Yeah.
The career mode of that or whatever. It's just a story, and it's a story of people wrestling and like their rivalries, and they have, it's sports entertainment.
Indeed.
But I've
got a quote on that.
Have you?
What? I'm not telling you.
Oh, you're not allowed to say anything. But anyway,
all I'll say is that I'm excited about the character creator in this next game.
Oh, brilliant.
To see how it improves.
Well, so pay-per-views, that's where it comes from. But because they have quite a few of these throughout the year, they like to have some kind of premium ones. And the big one, the ones that like they go all out on. And there's one in summer called SummerSlam. There is Survivor Series in autumn, which is usually like I think it's like 6 versus 6 elimination tag team match. Have you heard of that?
Vaguely.
And then in January, there's usually the Royal Rumble, which is 30 people. You've seen it before.
I've seen that.
And then WrestleMania, which is just like the end of the season.
Okay.
And usually like the episode after WrestleMania is like when all the new storylines start. So it's like the end of, usually like the end of the chapters, the big events.
The season finale.
The season finale is like WrestleMania. So that's why, and it's like the big major events like Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant. Have you heard of those people?
I've heard of Hulk Hogan.
Not Andre the Giant?
No.
Oh, I need to.
I've also heard of The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So The Undertaker,
The Rock.
The Undertaker used to have a streak at WrestleMania. He never lost.
He streaked?
Luckily not.
Did he take his hat off?
Right at the end he did and retired. But at WrestleMania, he was like...
See, I know he wears a hat.
Okay, good. Well, at WrestleMania, he used to have like a winning streak, and it was like ended quite suddenly, and people were like, after 23 years or something like that, it ended to somebody that people didn't want him to lose to, and there's a whole controversy about that. The great thing is, just announced yesterday, WWE is going to Netflix, including all of their live shows and including their live pay-per-views. So I said before that like you had to pay a lot of money for these pay-per-views that were on like Sky Box Office back when that was a thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So they had that, and then it moved to the WWE Network. So you could watch these big events, but you had to pay the monthly subscription to their network, which is only like £10 a month. So it was actually a really good deal.
Okay.
But the live shows you'd have to watch on Sky, and then it moved to BT Sports. So it's like a real premium. If you want to watch all their live shows, you have to pay a really premium thing. Now, in the UK and in many, many, many countries, including the US eventually, and like there's certain things, contracts will run out, they're all moving, including the live stuff, to Netflix, which is going to be interesting because Netflix and live, they've not really done much.
Well, they tried that with Love is Blind.
Yeah, but
and it didn't go very well.
Why?
Because they couldn't get it going, and so people missed out, and it didn't actually go live when it should have done. and people were very annoyed. So they ended up just recording it and putting it out as a normal episode.
Well, I imagine they've got a few years, and this is over 10 years. It's a 10-year contract, which is just like unheard of. 10 years, and it's $5 billion, which is just huge. Yeah. It's the biggest thing to happen to wrestling since... I mean, there's like not many big things. Well, like when wrestling went to kind of cable TV, that was like the start of the decline, because obviously they wanted it to kind of be watered down and more PG, and then people kind of just got a bit bored of it, and it's big, with younger audience, whereas I think before it had slightly an older appreciation because it was a bit of a rebellious thing. But like this is huge. Anybody can watch it. Like if they put, which there's a good chance they will, if they put all of the old events and the old shows and stuff on Netflix and you can watch any, like that is massive, and I'm gonna force you to watch some.
I am not watching wrestling.
Well,
I think from this conversation,
my favorite thing is the documentaries that they make, because they make some really interesting documentaries about it. Like there's The Flight from Hell.
The what?
Oh, actually, I think that was I don't think that was the WWE one, but it's they were at an event in the UK actually, and I think it was, and then they flew back to America. And the plane ride, they were all wasted, and it was like a private plane, but like people got assaulted, someone got their head shaved, there was like people like fighting, knocking each other out, and
this is fun.
Well, no, it's the documentary about this, like people got fired from the rest from WWE because of it. It's really interesting. I think it's Dark Side of the Ring. That's it. If you ever go and check out that documentary, some really good stuff.
Well, it's very clear to everyone listening and watching who is the wrestling fan and who is the Love is Blind fan.
I don't really watch it, but I don't watch it these days because it's really expensive to watch. I'm not getting a BT Sport subscription, and
well, I pay for Netflix, so you're welcome.
It was a bit. It's been crap for many, many years. But have you heard of Vince McMahon?
You have explained these things.
Trump supporting, loving guy.
We've been there.
He's gone, and his son Triple H. Have you heard of Triple H?
Yes.
So he is pretty much, he and another guy are kind of in charge and are just making all the good decisions that Vince McMahon refused to ever make.
Like putting it on Netflix.
Yeah, this is like the biggest thing they could do.
Anyway.
Sorry, where were we?
Well, you went off on a tangent.
I
you
can talk
like
about
wrestling,
it.
clearly.
Well,
speaking of the character creator.
It helped me come out, okay?
Oh, watching wrestling?
Well, you made me realise things. Do you like oiled up muscular men?
Not massively.
Good.
So the new game will have an expanded character creator, which has more parts and animations to design custom wrestlers. There's a typo there. That's annoying. And
who wrote that?
Who edited it? That's the question. Design custom wrestlers and entrances, as well as all new support for making custom referees and signs.
Yeah, so they're adding... Oh, custom signs is going to be good, but also, Friday Night Wrestling, BBW, Biggest Business Wrestling.
Yep.
One of the big things is special guest referees, which a lot of people have been asking for ages. So that is great.
There you go.
I can be the referee in Friday Night Wrestling.
Nice.
Me.
No one wants that. There's also 4 new match types. So special guest referee, ambulance match, casket match, and gauntlet match. Now,
I'm not going to explain.
We're not going into all these. Sorry, I don't know what noise my throat just made.
I've got like a little itch on the end of my nose, so I apologize when I'm watching the video. I don't know why.
You're not sniffing coke?
No, or picking my nose. It's just
Lovely.
like, when you have an itch right at the very end.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't go into these, but needless to say, look forward to more Friday Night Wrestling.
Casket match, put them in a casket. Ambulance man, put them in a ambulance.
What did I just say?
But it's just easy to explain.
Let people
tune into Friday Night Wrestling and find out.
Well, exactly. There you go. I'm trying to give you some advertising here.
On my own channel.
Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Another thing that you like. Death Stranding.
Fucking love Death Stranding.
Yeah, no, you've talked about it enough.
So the reason why I like Death Stranding...
No.
Not going to get into that.
So, Death Stranding 2, we know is on the way.
Do we?
Yes. They've already said that it's coming.
Yeah.
It's already been announced. What we don't know is the full title. And apparently, from sources, the full title is going to be Death Stranding 2 On the Beach.
On the beach. On the beach. On the beach.
Which is a banger.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible name.
It's terrible, but also I love the fact that it's just called Death Stranding 2 because that implies more Death Stranding. I feel like if they changed it to something like Deep Stranding, it could be that they completely change, because you know what Kojima's like. He's probably going to end up being the old switcheroo again. I'm sure.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure you'll end up playing as Fragile or something for the whole game, which I know you would love.
I'd love that.
But actually, to be honest, he might do that. But like that's to me is good because it implies, I don't know, just having a direct sequel with a number 2 there implies you're going to get more Death Stranding, and that's what I want.
There you go. So this name has come from reliable leaker called Bilbil Kun.
Do we like leakers?
Not massively, but this guy he writes for Deal Labs, which is a French site, and he always gets the PS Plus games like ahead of time, so it always leaks. Apparently this or the game is going to get a fresh showing in the next 15 days. So basically the reason this is interesting is not necessarily because of Death Stranding 2.
Well, not for everybody then.
But because if this is part of a fresh showing, it kind of implies, is there a PlayStation State of Play on the way?
Do you think they might put like an Until Dawn remake there?
Well, that's also leaked, so maybe.
Yeah, he posted that today.
There you go. Last week we had the Microsoft Developer Direct. So it's kind of now, eyes on Nintendo and Sony to do their equivalent. So maybe we'll get a showcase in the next couple of weeks. I would imagine that they want to do it before 7 Rebirth is out because they want to give that a push before release. Because that basically is their big exclusive for the moment.
Yeah, it's been a bit it's not been quiet on from who we follow, but like the actual kind of the push from on the major socials I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, Sony themselves, we don't know much about what they're doing this year in terms of first-party games, but 7 Rebirth is their biggest exclusive at the moment. Then, yeah. So I guess they're going to want a State of Play to push that. But if they're then revealing as part of that Death Stranding 2 out this Christmas, that's going to give everyone something to look forward to.
Imagine if that's the PlayStation Christmas game.
I mean, it probably will. And you're going to absolutely wet yourself.
I will be unavailable for a couple of weeks.
Great.
I'll stream actually, so you can come into chat and talk to me in there.
Maybe. Earlier today announced that part 2 of the Splatoon 3 DLC. What did you think I was going to say?
Something exciting.
Wow.
I think Splatoon was quite fun.
Splatoon is fun, and there is an expansion for Splatoon 3, the first part of which was last year, and that's when they added in Inkopolis from the first game.
Inkopolis, yeah.
But they announced that there was going to be some sort of campaign that would be coming. In the video, it's like all the colour's been sucked from the world, and it's all monochromatic, and everyone thought, oh, it looks like Nier. That is what's coming. It's called Side Order, and it's coming 22nd of February. It looks like there's some sort of tower. So the Nintendo tweet basically said, we've uncovered a new image of Agent 8 and Pearl trying to navigate the strange new sector, climb a spire crawling with creepy creatures, and unlock the truth behind this colourless world.
Interesting.
So it's some sort of campaigny single-playery type thing, which, I think I actually really like the Splatoon single player. So
yeah, did you finish it?
I don't think I actually did in the end.
No, I got to the last island. I was completing every single thing on every island.
And I just ran
I got to the last one and then didn't play it.
Good.
So I could go back to it and finish it, but...
So yeah, so that's part of the expansion pass. So that's next month. And then the last bit of news, which also came out today, is some Twitch news.
I thought you were going to talk about Splatoon 1. You're never going to be able to play online anymore soon. Because they put a date, haven't they?
Oh, that's true. Yes, they are shutting down online play on the Wii U and 3DS. So the stores have already closed, but they are shutting down, I think it's April.
Okay.
They're shutting down online play.
But you can still download things that you bought, can't you?
Yes.
That's never going to go
You just can't buy anything new.
Okay.
So last up is Twitch news. So basically, last year, Twitch
I love you said this is going to be a short podcast.
Look, we see this every time, and then you start whittering on about wrestling.
That was important back information.
Oh, it was context, was it?
Yeah, exactly. You should know about waffling for more than you need.
I never do. I'm a very concise news writer. Thank you very much.
Maybe for your news articles.
You can pipe down. Right, last year...
We'll talk about this after the podcast.
Last year, Twitch introduced the Partner Plus program.
The PP Plus.
The PP Plus. Now, the idea of this was to give a higher revenue split for partners if they hit a certain threshold.
You bring us in a lot of money, we'll make a deal.
Yeah. So rather than the standard 50-50, they get 70-30. But to do that, you have to have, I think it was 350 subs and whatever else.
Points, but points that don't even, like gift subs don't count. So you pretty much need 350 people subbing to you individually with their own money, which is a lot. You can also, if you subscribe at tier 3, it adds 6 points which is like £25 a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's...
So they had that last year. Basically, people weren't massively happy with it when it first came out. I wrote a story about streamers criticizing it for being anti-community, which was fresh from TwitchCon.
It's very high. It was a very, very... Like, I don't ever talk about my numbers and stuff like that, but sure I will. I think mine is 80. So 350. I mean, I don't stream as much these days, but it's quite a lot.
It's a lot, yeah, in order to make money.
You can only do that if you are pretty much a full-time streamer, a successful full-time streamer.
Yeah. So Twitch have recognized that, and they're now changing it, and they are expanding it with a lower threshold. And this starts from the 1st of May, so there's a little while to go yet.
Isn't it it starts counting from the 1st of February, so that then you get that on the 1st of May?
If you say so.
Yeah, so I read that because you need to meet the criteria for 3 months in a row, but they will count that from the 1st of February, so that then if you do that, then in 1st of May you can go for the new threshold.
Well, there you go. Apparently someone else is an expert here.
Who's the one that knows about Twitch?
All right, we both do.
Wow.
So they are introducing a lower threshold, firstly, and secondly, affiliates are now going to be eligible. So this isn't just for partners. This is for anyone who can get subs.
For anybody, letting anybody in now.
Yeah. So they're now just calling it the Plus program, not the Partner Plus program.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 2 levels. The first one offers a 60-40 revenue share. So an improvement on the 50-50, which means, which has a threshold of 100 points. And then there's the second one, which is 70-30, which is a threshold of 300 points. So that's kind of the equivalent of what it was before, but slightly lower.
Yeah.
But then there's this new lower tier, which is only 100 points.
Which is really good.
A tier 1 subscription is 1 point. A tier 2 subscription is 2 points. And a tier 3 subscription is 6 points.
Yeah.
So you've got to make up basically 100 points based on that. So that might be just 100 people subscribing, or it could be whatever 100 divided by 6 is as the number of tier 3 subscriptions, which is unlikely, but you know.
Yeah, like I've just had a look. Actually, mine is 69. Nice. But it's still, because you can click, one of your options is to share that with your community, and then it'll show like how close that person is to getting that.
Right.
At the moment, it still shows the old one, so it's like 69 out of 350. So he does that slowly. I think like this time last year, I think there was like, it's because it's Christmas Eve. So I don't know. But like so it'll show that, and I imagine it'll have a new updated thing that's like shows how close they are to 100. But I posted about it. I said like, I think this is actually aimed at the people that are on like 80 or like, 70, 80, 90 Partner Plus points, because obviously you have like the people have partner push, but I mean, partner.
But can you maintain that?
Yeah, can you maintain that? Whereas this is something that you need to constantly have. It's like a way of the community supporting a streamer and coming together, so that they're actually earning more money and they're getting a bit bigger revenue share, which is probably more important than trying to get someone to be partner and then disappearing, which is what people who like tend to get partner these days. They'll see like a big push and then it disappears a bit afterwards. Whereas this is just like another way that people can support the community, and also that the community can support the streamer. So, but I think it's those that are like on 60, 70, 80, it'll then incentivize the community to help them reach that 100. But also Twitch are like, oh, hey, thank you for making that person bring in a lot more money.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Clancy was talking about Twitch not being profitable. It's not making a huge amount of money, but they still want to help streamers make money, because if streamers make money, then Twitch makes money.
And it feels like people know that Twitch makes a loss. So I don't think they're like, people are, Twitch are very, very greedy with this, but it's like they're making a loss. But this is incentivizing you as a streamer to get more subs, or incentivizing the community to sub to people more. But also you can see how Twitch is earning more as well. So that, yeah, they're helping you get more money, but also they'll get more money as a result of it as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation. And I think it's clever, which I wasn't expecting anything. I don't think anybody had even suggested this.
Well, I haven't seen too much reaction, but I feel like the reaction generally has been very positive to this.
Nearly everything I've seen. The only thing people have commented on is the Prime sub.
Yeah, so the Prime sub is going to now be a fixed rate based on your country.
Yeah, it's going to be like a regional thing. Yeah. And yeah, I've seen people being like, "Oh, this is a massive hit to people that are, that rely on, that have a big community doing it." And I'm like, but they're also getting rid of that 100,000 cap. So if they do have such a big community that they're going to be affected by this Prime price change, then they'll probably earn over the 100,000 cap. So they'll probably could even get more money in the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a specific group of people that probably get a 100,000, they're like maybe just below the 100,000 threshold, that maybe have a bigger hit to the Prime, thanks to the Prime stuff, than they had initially. But
it's not many.
It's not many people, and it's people that are still getting a lot of money from Twitch.
Yeah.
Not me.
Or me.
No.
But thank you to everyone who subscribes.
Oh yeah, not ungrateful. I in the slightest. But yeah, that is that's
the latest news.
Yeah. Exciting, and I'm very, very happy with that. I will keep that up on my page so you can see how far away I am.
You're right here, Ben.
Anyway, we've got the Traitors to watch.
We do. We need to catch up.
It's the final week.
Bum, bum, bum.
Who do you want to win?
None of them.
See, I want... Yeah, to be honest, I don't really mind as long as it's exciting, but I'd also quite like... I think Jazz is the only one that really deserves to win, because he's the only one that's got a bit of a brain.
True, but he also has messed up. And generally, I'm like Team Traitor. I want the traitors to win, to like manipulate people into winning.
But you're like one of those gays that just loves the villain, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I know. No. Like people are like, oh my God, the Disney villain was such... Oh, as a kid, it was my gay awakening because this person was really evil and stuff.
Okay,
and
I'm not like that.
I don't get that.
Says you, the basic gay liking Diane.
I like Diane.
No.
She had a very strong personality.
Right, on that note, we need to end this before you carry on with any more accents.
The wine's gone off. There wasn't the wine. That was just me with my accent.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so yeah. When are you streaming again?
I will be streaming on Monday, as always. Continuing with my 7 Remake replay.
Ooh.
Just going very well.
And have you dressed up as a lady?
I did.
And did you make Cloud dress up as a lady?
I did. It was delightful.
Oh. And I will be back. I'm Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And Friday Night Wrestling is this Friday. And Sunday will be I'm going to say the start of the water temple. I'm going to make my way over to the water area.
Okay.
Because that's the order I did it in my last playthrough for Tears of the Kingdom.
For Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, so for Breath of the Wild, I did that. And then, for Tears of the Kingdom, I'm going to go and do the same order as well. So I'll do water and then sand and then rock.
Interesting choice.
That is the order I will do. I was about 7 hours streaming doing the actually it was longer than that, doing the wind temple, and I'm like, maybe I'll not necessarily aim to finish that, otherwise I'm just going to either rush or it's going to be the world's longest stream again.
Yeah, that's true. Don't rush it. Take your time.
I'm loving it. Anyway, so that'll be on Sunday. And you can check us out. Go to just throw Swapping Joysticks into whatever podcast player you like using, and hopefully we'll be there. If not, just go to swappingjoysticks.com and find the details.
And we'll be there next week with a very special podcast.
Thank you for reminding me, which I was going to forget. Our guests will be... Should we grab a book to show?
No, I'm going to grab something else to show.
From Final Fantasy XIV, the voice actors for Alphino, Colin Ryan, and also Thancred, Peter Bramwell.
Indeed.
And they are going to be joining us in person for a very special podcast with games, interview.
I'm going to bring my delivery Moogle.
Take your delivery Moogle. And we'll have some really... We got chatting with them at FanFest. They were just the easiest people to chat with, like the friendliest, really interesting, and it's going to be a hoot, I'm sure.
I'm excited. But that means if you have questions that you want us to ask, then please let us know. Write in, come to Discord, come to message us on Twitter.
Yeah, my DMs are open. Feel free to ask in there if you want.
We'll put a tweet out as well. You can reply.
Yes. So go to, if you're on Discord and you want to join, discord.gg/biggestmenace. You just go and type that in and you'll be automatically added.
Nice.
So yeah, that's going to be
Look forward
really...
to that next week. It's going to be a good special. You won't have to listen to us wittering on about wrestling.
And we will not be getting Colin to read Thirsty Alfino tweets out because that's just
wrong. Would be a bit weird, yeah. So sorry, there won't be any more Ben Starr style thirst tweets. No. But we'll have something else instead.
Yes, another meme-y thing.
We'll try.
All right. So yeah, that's very exciting. That'll be up next Friday. Because we're going to record it this weekend. As always, we will make sure that we're not falling out of schedule.
Good.
All right.
Right. See you all next week.
Bye. Bye.